Now, US President Donald Trump reiterated again yesterday that the US played a key role in brokering peace between India and Pakistan. Now, speaking in Saudi Arabia at Riyadh, Trump said he urged both sides to not trade nuclear missiles, but instead focus on trading things that they make so beautifully. The president also credited Secretary of State Marco Rubio for leading what he called a major diplomatic push, warning that millions could have died as the cross-border tensions threaten to lead to more destructions. Listen in to what Donald Trump said.
Days ago, my administration successfully brokered a historic ceasefire to stop the escalating violence between India and Pakistan. And I used trade to a large extent to do it. I said, fellas, come on, let's make a deal. Let's do some trading. Let's not trade nuclear missiles. Let's trade the things that you make so beautifully. And they both have very powerful leaders, very strong leaders, good leaders, smart leaders. And it all stopped. Hopefully it'll remain that way, but it all stopped. I was very proud of Marco Rubio and all of the people that worked so hard. Marco, stand up. What a great job you did on that. Thank you, J.D. Vance, Marco. The whole group worked with you, but it was a great job. And I think they're actually getting along. Maybe we can even get them together a little bit, Marco, where they go out and have a nice dinner together. Wouldn't that be nice? But we've come a long way, and it could be, millions of people could have died from that conflict that started off small and was getting bigger and bigger and bigger by the day.
Well, US President Donald Trump there again trying to take credit for the cessation of military fighting between India and Pakistan. Remember, this also comes a day after clarification came through that it was not the call from Donald Trump or the US, but rather the DGMO of Pakistan's call to the DGMO of India at 3:35 p.m., which resulted in the cessation of hostilities. Well, following nearly 4 days of tense cross-border hostilities, India and Pakistan had entered a fragile ceasefire that took effect on May the 10th. US President Donald Trump is, again, like we saw, claiming credit for helping broker the pause in fighting, asserting it is not just a diplomatic breakthrough, but tied to trade interests. As US remains a key trading partner for both India and Pakistan, the scale of trade is far from balanced between India and Pakistan. With such limited economic leverage, can Pakistan's struggling economy keep up, or is it running out of options? Well, a special report by my colleague Krishnakumar that explains and debunks the myth that Pakistan can indeed trade more with the US. Take a look.
After nearly a 4-day-long military action, India and Pakistan are now on a fragile cessation of firing that came into effect on the 10th of May. According to US President Donald Trump, the US played a key role in brokering peace between the two neighbors. On Monday, the US President claimed that the quote-unquote ceasefire, that's what he called it, was not just about diplomacy, but about trade. Remember, the US is the biggest export market for both India and Pakistan. But the trade relationship that the two countries enjoy with the US is far from equal. In the year 2024, total goods trade between the US and India was nearly $130 billion, while with Pakistan, it was just a little over $7 billion. India exported goods worth over $87 billion to the US in 2024, an increase of about 4.5% from the year 2023. Pakistan, on the other hand, exported just over $5 billion, up nearly 5% from the previous year. Imports also followed a similar pattern. India imported nearly $42 billion worth of goods from the US, while the Pakistan imports stood at a little over $2 billion. This gives India a trade surplus of over $45.5 billion with the US compared to Pakistan's $3 billion. Although the US trade tariffs are currently on pause until early July, new reciprocal tariffs of 26% on Indian goods and 29% on Pakistani goods have been announced. Both still face a 10% baseline duty on exports to the US. Pakistan's economy is in deep trouble. Its foreign exchange reserves are barely above $15 billion, while India holds over $688 billion. Pakistan's economy, worth just about $338 billion in 2023, is actually lower than it was in the year 2017. Meanwhile, inflation has gone through the roof from 10.7% in the year 2020 to 23.4% in the year 2024. Meanwhile, India is the fastest growing major economy in the world, slated to grow at 6.5% this year and eventually overtake Japan to become the fourth largest economy in the world by the end of this year itself. Remember, to avoid an economic meltdown, Pakistan made a last-minute appeal to the International Monetary Fund, or IMF, just hours before a key meeting. The IMF responded with a $1 billion bailout on the 9th of May. Yet, despite Pakistan's repeated hostile actions, the US continues to try to be a quote-unquote broker and not exactly a mediator. President Trump praised the powerful leadership of both India and Pakistan on the 10th of May without mentioning terrorism. While India and the US will soon restart trade talks in Washington, Pakistan and the US have agreed to deepen their strategic and economic ties, according to Trump. But with Pakistan's inflation soaring, foreign reserves barely above $15 billion, and a stagnant GDP, Pakistan is likely to be in no shape to sustain exports, especially to major markets like the US. So, while a claimed promise to boost trade is what Trump has said as his brokerage victory, Pakistan's ability to actually trade remains in serious doubt.